The pregnancy was fine. It was the NIPT results that came back with high risk of T18. And then on the scan, there was a cystic hygroma, which was basically a shadow from a skull all the way around to the back of a bottom and the thickness of a neck at the back. A lot of the research we done when they said what it could have been, they said about it being Downs or Edwards or Patau's, was us going on the internet and researching and being absolutely petrified. There was no information really given to us at that time. Even when we got the results of the CVS, I think a lot of it was our own research on the internet. And I remember saying all the way through, I just don't want it to be Edwards syndrome because that one's the worst. On the internet it was saying things not compatible with life, which was just frightening. Oh, I'd terminate. I think that was one of the consultants, just terminate because you're not going to make it. And it's things like that you don't want to hear. They're still your babies, they're still your children. So to have someone that's been through it, someone human that understands everything you're going through, because it is a roller coaster. It's not just, a lovely pregnancy that you just sail through and your bum's getting bigger. It's the fear, it's day by day. It's not in 9 months when he's here. It's, well, if we get through today, it's another good day. If we get through another week. And I think if we had someone that we could have phoned at those times, what happened when you were this many weeks, or what happened when he was born or they were born, I think that would have helped an awful lot. So it's very important, I think, to get all the advice, and not just from the consultants, but from people that have been through it. When we went for the amnio, that's when we went and found out that our heart had stopped beating. So we never had to go through the amnio with hope. But they said they were pretty certain it was full T18. With everything that happened with hope, every week that Arlo stayed strong it was like a little gift, I think, at that time. And we were just grateful that we got through another day. And it was a day-by-day pregnancy with Arlo. It wasn't as enjoyable with Noah. The pregnancy was fantastic. There was no worries. Whereas every day with Arlo, you're worried, does he stop moving? Why haven't I felt him kick? Is this it? Especially with what had happened with Hope. Pre-pregnancy was fine. Obviously, they told us the chances of it ever happening again are very, very slim. We wouldn't have another child with it, and any further pregnancy would be fine. So with Arlo, the 12-week scan was perfect. We had the NIPT done then as well. And it was the results that came back a little bit later with Arlo that said T18 again. They said it's not a diagnostic. The only way to truly know is with an amnio. And of course, there's always a risk to the pregnancy anyway after an amnio. So then you're weighted with, do I do it, don't I do it? We decided not to and to wait for the 20-week scan, because there's always that hope. They say that it's not 100% accurate. So I think we clung to hope that they were wrong, because the 12-week scan was perfect. He was healthy, he looked fine, there was no markers on it. I don't think we got anything properly till we went to see the 20-week scan. They were almost certain that it was full Edwards syndrome and recommended an amnio there and then. We had a team, because he had a hole in his heart, so we seen a cardiologist. They talked through options regarding that and after birth. He was very honest. He said there were probably people in the hospital that would hear Edwards and not work as hard or do as much really for the baby. But it was still our baby. To deal with it alone or as a family anyway, I think is a hard thing. To have an outside person that you could turn to and ask questions, and, you know, even little niggly things that might seem inconsequential in a normal pregnancy became a big deal. And to be able to ask someone, is this normal? Should this be happening? I think would have been a lot of help. He made it full term. He was born by C-section at 39 weeks and he came out screaming. He was just this little bundle of joy. And I didn't think I'd love anyone as much as I love my first son. I thought it'd be impossible. And yet this overwhelming love came from anyone. You knew then you'd do anything for that baby. And he was perfect. He didn't have club feet like they said he would. His fists were clenched and he had, you know, some markers, but in our eyes he was just perfect, a little warrior. We were all in love with him from the minute he was born, even before really, yeah. But as time went on and another week passed and another week passed, I just wanted to get him home. And then we started looking at full intervention. We wanted heart scans, we wanted his lungs checked out. And we decided that on the Friday. And we had a heart scan booked on the Tuesday, but he died. An apnea. We were in the hospice, and because we changed, they called an ambulance and we went to the ER and they wouldn't let me in the ambulance with Arlo. And I thought they're just going to let him die because he's got Edwards. But when we got to the hospital, they brought him back, which I'd ever been, you know, forever thankful to them. And then in the ER, I remember begging the nurse not to let him die because he had Edwards. And that was hard. And they did try. But I think the CO2 in his lungs had built up too much and he couldn't get rid of it himself. It's a difficult conversation. And I think we knew then that it was his time. Didn't want him in pain, and they said if they intubated him, he'd end up in more pain. And the comfort I got was seeing that the nurses and the doctors were upset just as much as we were. I knew they were doing the best for him. I think if we'd had a team that were cold and clinical, I think that would have been harder when he died. When we had his funeral, we had a celebrant, and she said, Arlo stands for always remember to love others, because all he knew in his short life was love. That's it. That's all he knew. And I think, you know, that's his legacy. We try and keep him alive in whatever way we can. We want people to talk about him, we want people to know his name, and we want people to know what an amazing little baby he was. In his short life, he brought so much happiness. I think knowing that there are children that do survive, you know, you're told, especially when we were looking at the time, you know, it's not compatible with life, you know, they don't survive past birth, they don't even survive to birth. So I think that fear straight away was there. I think knowing or having someone there that could tell you, well, this could be an outcome, that could be an outcome. The fact that it's a syndrome, it's not one size fits all, I think as well would have helped. I think Britain's very much on the other side of it. You know, they're not compatible with life, they're not going to live long, so it makes me sick. Who decides not compatible with life? It's no one's choice. If he wasn't compatible with life, he wouldn't have been conceived, he wouldn't have been born. There's no such thing as not compatible with life. Life's life.